Hey there, loves. How's it going? Happy Sunday. I know I don't normally come to you live on Sundays, but I typically start my brews on Sundays, so I wanted to get in on a Sunday. And I want to teach you ladies how to brew kombucha because I get so many requests about how do I make my own kombucha that I needed to teach you all. So, even if you don't know what kombucha is, that's okay if you have a kombucha addiction and want to know how to make it yourself, or if you're like, man, I'm spending so much time brewing kombucha, then you're still in the right place, okay? So, this is what I'm gonna teach you. I'm starting with boiling water here. When you're on, say hi below. Let me know which stage are you at. And as we go along here, I'm gonna teach you, yeah, I know. It was like, I had a kombucha addiction for a long time. Like, I was drinking it from the store. I probably started drinking it about 2 years ago. And I was drinking it all the time, but man, is it expensive. And also, you guys know me, I like to control what's in things. So, I wanted to learn how to do it myself, but anyone who knows me knows that I'm not a DIY kind of person. I'm not super crafty. I'm not super DIY. I am not a Pinterest mom, okay? So, I needed to know how to do it the easy way, and so that's what I'm going to teach you today. So, right now, I want to start, just get right into it, not take up too much of your time. Please don't pull on that cord. So I have some boiling water here. I have about a half gallon of boiling water. I'm going to pour that into here. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stick, I have 4 tea bags of black tea. I'm going to put those in there. We're going to let that sit for 10 minutes at least. Let's see, what time is it? It is 1:59. All right. So, the reason why I used black tea, first let's go over what is kombucha. If you don't know what kombucha is a fermented tea, just like cheese is fermented or beer or wine or whatever. It can be alcoholic if you let it sit too long. Been there, done that. If you want to do that on purpose, great. But it's a fermented tea that is so full of probiotics. It's actually been called the elixir of youth, okay? And this has been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. People have been drinking this stuff. And so it's really amazing. I love it. I just love the taste. Besides the obvious like health benefits of it, I just love the taste. So that is what I'm teaching you to brew today. And the reason why I used black tea, we'll talk about the ingredients and the equipment here while we're waiting for it to steep. The reason why I use black tea, you can use black tea or green tea. Or, you know, white tea is okay, but black or green are really the two preferred. You don't want to use herbal tea or oolong tea. Mate, is okay, like white tea. But black or green are preferred because they have the, they have the content of, you know, they have the properties that the bacteria that you're growing need in order to grow. So sometimes I will throw in like a flavored tea bag or an herbal tea bag in with this just to add some extra flavor. Hey Beth, hey Lori, thanks for popping on here. By the way, you guys, I'm going to give away a free SCOBY, which is your bacteria culture. And I'm going to give that away later this week when we do our second brew. So go ahead and share this and comment share if you want in on that giveaway. I'm going to give away a free SCOBY because that is really what you need to start brewing it. The rest of the stuff is going to be already in your cupboard. So we already have water, tea. Your water, you want to use filtered boiled water from the tap if you want to use tap water, or spring water, like bottled spring water. Those are going to be the best types of water because they'll be chlorine free. And that's what your SCOBY really needs to thrive. And what else do we need? Our other ingredients, we have a gallon jar to brew it in. You can use a half gallon one if you want, and then you're obviously going to cut all of these proportions in half. We use a gallon jar, water, black tea, 4 bags of black tea, vinegar. It's open and I just spilled it. Vinegar is an ingredient. Thanks, Lori, for sharing. Vinegar is an ingredient that you're not going to add to it, but you're actually going to use to wash your hands and prepare your space. So I'll show you why we do that and how we do that as we get there. White sugar, you can also use, I always use white sugar, but you can also use evaporated cane juice, pasteurized honey, or maple syrup, okay? Or brown sugar. Those all work too. And if you're worried about the sugar content, if you try to stay away from sugar, I try to stay away from white sugar. Thanks, Brandy, for sharing. I try to stay away from white sugar personally and most processed sugars. But the sugar is actually going to be eaten. It's not going to eat. It's going to be eaten by your bacteria. So when you're done brewing this, in our 5 days or our 7 days when this is done, it's not going to have sugar in it, okay? So if you're diabetic, if you're keto, if you just try to avoid sugar for your health, that's okay. This is still going to be healthy for you, okay? Any other additional sugar, any sugar is going to come from the flavorings that you add in at the end, and you have total control over that. So don't worry about the sugar content. And then you also need, you're going to need your measuring cup, you're going to need a spoon for stirring. You're going to need some sort of dish towel, washcloth, muslin cloth. Don't use a cheesecloth. Those are too porous. You can even use, like I've literally used a clean t-shirt before, okay? Anything that's a cloth to cover it is what we're going to use. Rubber band, and then our SCOBY, which is floating around in there. You can't really see it probably, but our SCOBY and our starter tea. So when you get a SCOBY, it more than likely, excuse me, thank you, I need that. He stole my washcloth. So when you get a SCOBY, it will come with starter tea, which is already brewed kombucha, which is what the SCOBY lives in when it's living around in there. So that is what we're going to start with. I just stepped on a grape, I'm pretty sure. So that is what we're starting with. Let's check our time here. All right, we still got a few minutes here. So I'm going to tell you some more about the vinegar. The vinegar, what we use the vinegar for is for rinsing our utensils, okay? So when you wash stuff with, soap and water or in your dishwasher or whatever, your water more than likely, one, has chlorine in it and other things that can kill your SCOBY, can kill your bacteria. Two, your soap is probably also having some antibacterial properties to it. It's designed to kill germs, right? Which is good for the most part, what we want, but we don't want it to kill our SCOBY. So what we're using the vinegar for, because vinegar will kill bad bacteria, but it won't kill SCOBY, is we want to just rinse after we wash. So like I washed this jar and then I rinsed it out with some vinegar, some white vinegar, just to cure it, to get some of that soap residue off and make sure that there's still nothing bad in it, nothing gross in it. And so I'm going to use that for the utensils. I'm also going to use it before I handle the SCOBY. I'm going to rinse my hands with it. You don't have to handle the SCOBY with your hands if you don't want to. If you're like, that sounds disgusting, that's fine. I like to, simply because it's a living thing, it's alive. I'm like, everybody needs some hugs every once in a while. So I am going to touch my SCOBY. And so our SCOBY is just our little lovely bacteria here. And I'll show you guys that in a minute because we're almost there. But what else did I want to tell you? Oh, where you want to brew. You want to brew in a warm area because cold equals mold. I've gotten mold before on my SCOBYs. You have to throw out the SCOBY, you have to throw out the booch, and you have to start from scratch again, and that's no fun. So you want to be sure that where you're brewing is going to be between 68 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit is really the ideal state, the ideal temperatures for it to live in and for it to ferment in. And you also want to be sure that it's well ventilated. So I literally just put it, let's see if I can turn you guys around here. I just put it at the top of this cabinet right there. You can see I'm brewing some second ferments right there because our kitchen's really well ventilated. It's the warmest room in the house, and that way it's out of reach of Avi, so he can't grab it up there. All right, so this is done. So let's get started here. Let's open this sugar because it's a brand new sugar. All right, somehow we're gonna open this. be prepared, right? Be prepared. So now we have our tea, and the great thing, excuse me, no thank you, no thank you. The great thing about black tea, why I use black tea instead of green tea, is that I can walk away from this, and if I leave it for 15 or 20 minutes instead of 10, it's not gonna get sour on me. You know, like if you leave green tea too long, it'll get gross. Like if you're letting it steep for too long, it'll get tart and sour and whatever, and it won't taste good. But black tea is gonna take a beating. So I'm just rinsing my measuring cup real quick with some vinegar. All right, and then we're gonna add 1 cup of sugar. So whatever you're using as your sugar, whether that's brown sugar, evaporated cane juice, maple syrup, or some pasteurized honey, you don't want to use sugar substitutes, for sure. Do not use sugar substitutes. Don't use raw honey. Don't use liquid cane juice, and don't use agave. I need this still, so I'm not going to throw that in the sink yet. All right, we're going to give that a quick stir. Yeah, what do you think? Give that a quick stir to dissolve that sugar. So now we have sweet tea. And if you were to taste this right now, it would taste like the sweet tea at McDonald's. You know what I mean? Like that is sugary. But by the time that it's done, like I can literally smell the sugar. It smells like sweet tea. By the time that we're done here, it is not going to taste like that. In a few days, once it's fermented, once that SCOBY has eaten up all of that stuff, all of that sugar. Hey, Megan, thanks so much for sharing. Once that SCOBY has eaten up all that sugar, it's not going to be sweet anymore. All right, so let me tell you, the way that I used to brew it, the hard way, I would leave it, I would let it sit, I would boil a gallon of water and then let it cool in order to put my SCOBY in. And then someone gave me a tip. They were like, just add some cold water in, brew it in about a half gallon, and add some more, okay? Because this does not take me very long to do in real life. I just have to boil my water, I walk away, I start it boiling, I throw in my tea, walk away, throw in my sugar, put it in here, and then I'm gonna add cold water. So I add cold water from my Brita in my fridge. You can also add some ice if you want, because we don't want it to be too hot. By the way, you guys, if you want to get a complete set of all of the things that you need, big mason jar, some bottles to keep it in, sugar, tea, like everything that you could possibly need, let me know. Drop kit below. My friend sells kits with SCOBYs in them and everything else that you need, all the other equipment, and you can purchase one from her. Okay, so that is still a little warm. I actually have a little thermometer right here so that I can read the temperature on my SCOBY. So I'm gonna, or not my SCOBY, but my booch. I'm gonna grab some ice. And I'm gonna cool it down because you want it to be about room temperature. You don't want it to be cold. You just want it to be comfortable, you know? Like baby bath water. So, one more time for the people who have just joined us. If you share this broadcast later this week, I'm going to do a drawing for a free SCOBY. I'm going to send you a SCOBY. And if you share it and comment shared, you will be entered into that. All right, so let's let that ice melt a little bit and let that be in there. All right, and then I'm gonna show you my SCOBY. Okay. Whoa, stepped on a dog bowl. All right, so now I'm rinsing my hands with the vinegar. I'm gonna take off my wedding ring because the shape of it like catches all liquid. So my SCOBY here, I'm storing. You can store your SCOBY in just a jar with a washcloth rubber banded over it, okay? Because you want them to be able to breathe. You want them to have access to air. Because when they don't, that's when you're gonna get alcohol. So my SCOBY, it looks a little funny right now. It's pretty yeast covered. I've been trying to decrease the amount of yeast. SCOBY stands for, I don't know what it stands for. I know that the B is for bacteria and that the Y is for yeast. But it's basically It's like, you see this little bit hanging off, that's yeast, okay? Any of this kind of brown stuff is yeast. So this is what the SCOBY looks like. Oh, look at that, it's so beautiful. And it's a hard, okay? So a healthy SCOBY should be hard, it should be light brown to white in color, and it should look wet, okay? It shouldn't look like dry or have any like little fluffy things on it. That's gonna be mold, all right? You don't want that. You all know what mold looks like. And your number one question when you start brewing, because it reproduces, it's like any other living thing, when you're brewing it, it's gonna start reproducing and it's gonna make more SCOBYs. All right, so your number one question when you're looking at it is gonna be like, is that mold? Does that look right? Probably does. Mold's pretty rare. So, hi, and it's really firm. It shouldn't break. So the way to describe SCOBY that I like best, is it's like a little apartment building. I know, it's a little apartment building, and it is made of like cellulose basically, that make like little rooms, okay? So it's a grid. And then inside it's filled with bacteria, and then on the outside lives your yeast. So your yeast will kind of be this stringy stuff on the bottom of your brew when we get there. All right, so this is now cooled to room temperature. It feels pretty good, feels pretty comfortable. So now the big moment, we're gonna put our SCOBY in. Notice how I didn't fill this up all the way, okay? That's really important. I'm gonna put my SCOBY in. There we go. He floats away. Goodbye. They might float to the bottom. They might stay on the top. Either one is fine. All right. And then, oh, I'm tripping all over the place. I always make such a mess when I do this. Like I said, I'm not a DIY person, so I want to do this the easy way. And then I'm going to take this. This is my starter liquid. This will come with any SCOBY that you buy. Okay, you can buy them on Amazon. You cannot buy them at Whole Foods. I thought that you would be able to buy them there. You can't. Basically on Amazon, or my friend sells them as well. So you want to use 2 cups of this at least, because that's really going to get your fermentation started. This is tea that has already fermented. This has already been done. It's good to go. And now you want to add that in last, because it's going to add in a protective layer over your SCOBY and over your brew. So now we're just about done here. We just, cover it up with our washcloth. Take our trusty rubber band it, and then we do not touch it. You're gonna put it away. You're not gonna move it around. You're not gonna try it. Nothing like that for a couple of days. If you're in a warmer environment, okay, so if you live in Florida, or if it's like August, or if you keep your house really warm, so sometimes we will keep the house at like 73 degrees because Michael's always cold. And then your booch is gonna brew in about 4 days. Okay, 4 or 5 days maybe. But normally it's gonna be like 5 to 7. So you wanna wait to try it with a straw until 4 days if it's really warm, like over 71 degrees, wherever you're storing it. Or 2 if on day 5. Okay, so I will show you all of that later. That makes it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday, I will come to you live, and that's also when I'm going to share who won the SCOBY, okay? So remember, you guys, share and comment, shared, if you want to be entered to win that free SCOBY. And so, also, I want you guys to notice one more thing before I hop off. Notice the color, because that's going to be one sign of a healthy brew. Thanks, Jackie. This is one of my favorites. This is pretty dark. It still looks like that sweet tea. And this is light in color. This is what your kombucha should look like at the end of our week, at the end of our brew. It should be really light, like that. All right? And that's what we want. Okay, so as this brews over the next couple of days, you are going to see it change in color. You might see some more yeast come off of your SCOBY. You might see some yeast collect on the bottom. Let's see, it might be a little bit easier. No, there's not so much in there. But you might see some yeast, they're like little strings, collect on the bottom or sink to the bottom. Your SCOBY might start growing. Your SCOBY might move location. There might be some fizz that happens. These are all normal things, you guys. Those are all things that you want to happen. Now, if all of those don't happen, that's okay, but you want a few of them to be happening. Mine don't always fizz. Sometimes my SCOBY stays in the same place, whatever. But you want at least a couple of those happening. So I am gonna post throughout the week pictures as this progresses. On Friday, we will do how to tell when it's done, how to start our second fermentation, which is our flavoring in the bottles. Again, if you want some info on a starter kit, just drop kit below and I'll hook you up. My friend Logan sells starter kits with the mason jars, the sugar, the tea, SCOBY, starter tea, all of it, okay? So, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I've been getting so many requests to do a video like this, so I was really excited to do it. And I will see you all Friday. Bye.